Can you still wild camp on a budget? Now, I'm not talking about getting your festival tents from Tesco's or your £10 fleece lined sleeping bags or your flock airbeds. I'm talking about usable, reliable gear that'll see you through more than just one night on the hills. So today I've put together some gear to prove to you that you don't have to have a big budget to come out and enjoy this glorious pastime. Just having a quick stop here, taking in these lovely views, and I'm hoping to push on up towards Vango, which for those of you who aren't new would have seen me camp on before, but for those of you that are new, this is my stomping ground, the wonderful Brecon Beacons. I'm in the central Beacons today, parked the car in Story Arms car park. If you normally head up this way, 90% of you would go the other side of the road to Benavan. But like I said, the purpose of this video is to see what budget wild camping looks like. That's for the rucksack, tent, sleeping bag. I have brought an air mat with me just to prove that budget wild camping can be luxurious as well. I've even got a pillow. The only thing I haven't included is clothing, and the reason why I've done that is I figured if you're looking at getting into this sort of thing, you're probably into hiking and the outdoors already, so you'll have boots and a jacket and anything else you'd need really for whatever the weather's going to throw at you. Right, come on, let's go find a pitch. This has got to be the best trig in the Beacons. I've done a few, but I'm not sure there's anything like this. It is epic up here. Look at that sky. This'll do. So what I'll do, I'll go through this gear really quickly. I'm not going to give you full stats or anything like that. I'll put things like the costs up on screen. If I can find any decent links, I'll put them down in the comments, but like I said, I'll give you just a quick run through as we go. So the tent is the Vango Nevis 100. So it's a single hoop design tent with these two poles on either end just to lift the fly off. And it's a great design. It's tried and tested by loads of different manufacturers, but this one is certainly one of the more budget options for this type of design. Super easy to pitch as well. Just get your four corners in, your middle hoop, and then you've got your end poles, little eyelet at the bottom, little sleeve for them at the top. The only thing you've got to make sure of this is that you've got to kind of push these inside poles in slightly, because otherwise they won't get the fly taut and you'll end up with a saggy fly, and nobody wants that. Home. So this tent is great for anyone just starting out. It's got everything you'd need really. Tried and tested design, a decent sized vestibule, enough room inside for you and a bit of gear, and easy to pitch. That's not to say it's perfect though. Look at the colour on it in here. So used to just your standard white interiors or mesh. Now this has got mesh on the interior. You've got a little window at either end, and there is, I'll show you now, a small little bit on the door. So what I would say is this tent is probably not for use in the height of summer, because it would get really warm really quick. But the temperature tonight, I think it's going to be around 6 degrees, so it's going to be pretty much perfect for that. Although while the sun's out now, it's already getting warm in here. Yeah, as far as pictures go, not a bad one. There is a little bit of a breeze. It is only forecast to be about 10 miles an hour, but it's coming directly from that way, so this little bank here actually works quite nicely. It's kind of heading up and over, but there's still a little bit to it. That's why I've brought my down jacket, because I want to stay out and enjoy this for as long as I can tonight. It's almost the summer solstice, which means sunset's going to be, I don't know, probably around about 10 o'clock, maybe even later. I'm not sure, I haven't checked. But the more I can stay out here and enjoy it, the better. But a couple of things you have seen before, if you've seen the channel, is this, which is my Vango Ultralight Pro 200 sleeping bag. Now this I've had for 4 or 5 years now. It was the first bag I bought when I started getting into this, and it's done me well in anything down to around about 4 or 5 degrees. It'll do that at a breeze. It does say it goes down to -1, but don't take that, trust me. But for something like this, it's absolutely perfect. And again, for someone just starting out, it's a great balance between budget and performance and weight. And I'm pairing that tonight with this, another Vango product, the Aotrom air mat. Now, when you're looking at budget stuff, you can go super budget and just get yourself a closed cell foam pad. You can pick up, I think, Multimat ones in Go Outdoors, maybe a tenner. But I want you to understand that just camping on a budget doesn't mean you got to compromise on anything. So again, for these conditions, this thing will be absolutely perfect. It's a 3/4 length, so it is lighter because of that, but it's got an R value of 1, which effectively means it's a bag of air. So not recommended for 3-season use. But we're in June, although it hasn't felt like it for a while in the UK. This is one of those rare occasions. Doesn't actually look that hot, but it's been about 18 degrees up here today, which when you're walking in, it's it is a bit of a struggle. I have sweated a bit. So staying on the theme of comfort, regardless of budget, I've brought myself a pillow as well. Now, you can just take a dry sack, put some clothes in it, make yourself a pillow with that. But I'm only out for one night, so this is literally it apart from my down jacket. And again, you know, if you're gonna come out and do it, you might as well do it comfortably and enjoy the experience rather than having the rustle of a dry sack every time you move. So something like this is the Alpkit, I can't even remember what it's called now, the Alpkit drift pillow. Again, not too expensive, but in my mind an essential when you're camping. My cooking system, which if you see my last video you'd have seen this already. This is the Fire Dragon stove, BCB, and one of the points I made in my last video was about how really rubbish these are in the wind, because you've only got this one baffle at the back. When you put it down, it doesn't really give you a lot of protection. And somebody commented, I can't remember who it was, but they said if you just get another one, you can use the baffle from that one on the other side to enclose it in. So that's what I've done. Now, these are as cheap as they come when it comes to stoves, so I thought it'd be the perfect thing to bring out with me on the camp today. But yeah, that second baffle really does enclose that in, so hopefully it'll mean a faster boil time because it'll keep the heat in, and also less hassle from the wind. So only other couple of things to show you. First of all is the bag I've brought, which is a Technicals Tibet 25. Now this, again, I'll put the stats up on screen. The one thing I will say with this though is I managed to find this for a tenner in the sales, so yeah, you don't really have to break the bank when it comes to a pack. Now it is only 25 litre, so it is the smallest pack that I've ever brought out on a wild camper. I've got all my gear in there, and because I've gone budget, I'm not bringing, you know, things like my chair and you know, my radio. I haven't even brought a lantern. And then for cooking on tonight, I've just got the cheap aluminium unbranded pots from Amazon, and I've filled these up with a couple of coffees, a cloth for wiping up, my Sea to Summit mug. Now this you don't need, again, especially with something like this, you could just have your coffee in this, but these don't cost the earth. And then just a couple of sweeteners, oh, and that, but we won't include that in the budget. So like I said, I'm not going to go through too many stats and things like that of the gear. I'll put stuff on screen as and when I'm using it, and I will put the weight of things up as well for anybody that's interested. I'll weigh this all when I get home, and you can see then what each individual item weighs, and I'll put the total weight up there. So what, let's put you up here, give you a nice view of what I'm looking at. You alright with that? Don't fall over. I think we've got a thumbnail. I've not brought any foil or anything like that to put down on the ground, which again you can do, and you should do really. You should put something down to protect against the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to stand it up on the bigger side of my pot and boil the water for my coffee in the smaller one. I should say as well, I have brought this, which is a dry sack come pump sack. So I use the pump sack for blowing up my my mat, and obviously it's a dry sack, so I've put my tent in this, and this is Trekology. Again, I'll put the links if I can find them. I think I bought that on Amazon. So again, a nice cheap option, and it gives a dual purpose as well. Oh, that's worked so much better than I ever thought. Now there's a budget trick for you. Get 2 of these things. They're cheap enough. Now, if you want to go really budget, just grab a spoon or a fork from the cutlery drawer. But this is a titanium spork that again I've had for years. Tell you what, shall we go out and enjoy this? Tell you what, that wind ain't 10. 5 to 10 mile an hour was the forecast, although it does supposed to drop off even more as the night goes on. But I've been up here a couple of hours, and if anything, it's picking up. Told you. So part of the reason for me doing this video was I've seen, well, quite a lot of Facebook groups I'm in that are, into wild camping and hiking and things like that, and I've seen a lot of people lately saying, oh, I'm thinking of going on my first wild camp, what do you recommend? Now, I'm obviously not going to sit here and say this is the type of gear or this is the exact gear that you should bring. You should do, as much research as you can, really. And everyone's going to have their own budget. That it's different for everybody. Somebody will maybe go out and buy for their first tent, a £400-500 Terra Nova, or an £800 Hilleberg, or a Nor tent, or whatever. But I just wanted to show that it doesn't take that much money to come out and enjoy yourself. And I think one of the best tips I can give you if you're looking into this type of thing, like I said, do a bit of research on it, ask about in these groups, but sometimes take the advice with a pinch of salt. There can be a lot of gear snobs out there, and somebody might say to you, oh, I found this tent brilliant, and they'll say, oh, that brand is no good, or that's rubbish, it does this, it does that. Now, I mean, Vango's a case in point. Vango, I think, is one of the most underrated brands out there. People can kind of look down on it. I think everybody had the Banshee or most people had a Banshee or something similar as their first tent, but that's pretty much it. You don't really see a lot of people recommending Vangos. I know they do have a few of the higher end things. So the F10, the air tent that they do, that's I think £600 or something. But again, you don't need to be spending that type of money, especially if it's your first time. You know, you might not like it. There's no point wasting all this money on something that you might not like doing, and then you've just got to get rid of all of it. So start off small. You know, a tent like this will last you easily through the weather, especially this time of year. You know, this will probably get you from April to around maybe September, this type of tent. Maybe a little bit more, because the inner is solid on it. So it can be warm in here, to be fair, but then you've got to go into things like, you know, sleeping bags and mats. Mats especially, they're so important, because, you know, when the ground's cooler in the colder months, it saps so much of your body heat, which people don't really take into account. So, you know, a decent mat is definitely something to invest in if you're looking at doing this, you know, in all types of weathers. But, you know, like I said, for your first time, go out and get something that, you know, is within your budget. First of all, like I said, you might just end up getting rid of it if you don't like it. I can't see why you wouldn't mind. What's not to like? Obviously I say that with a bit of a pinch of salt. You know, conditions like this are perfect for this type of thing, but, you know, I've been out in some horrendous weather and I've questioned why I do it. But it's these types of evenings when you've just got the sun kissing all the mountains is absolutely fantastic. And I couldn't think of anywhere better to be right now, if I'm being honest. See what I mean? Another tip I'll give you, if you're going to go out for your first time, is when picking your location, pick somewhere you know. It's the reason I came here. I normally like to camp a different place every time I go out, but I know this area really, really well. And I think that's really important for your first time, that you know where you're going. You let people know where you are. You know, if you've got signal, get what 3 words on your phone and ping them your location. I've done that with my wife. I pinged her a location and say this is roughly where I'm going to be, just in case I haven't got signal. And then when I got you, I pinged her again, just so you know, so she knows exactly where I am. Now, you know, let people know how long you're expecting to be out for, when you're expecting to be home. Because if anything does happen, you're out here with no signal, you know, not that you want to ever think that's going to happen, but it's something to definitely take into account when you're coming out doing this type of thing. And prepare for all eventualities as well when it comes to the weather. The forecast today was to be showery up until about 7 o'clock and then glorious. And luckily I've pretty much got exactly that. I had a few drops of rain on the hike in, nothing major at all. And I've got this all evening. It's supposed to be going into tomorrow as well, but I've been caught out before in some horrendous weather that wasn't forecasted. So, you know, just be prepared for the worst. Make sure you bring, in the UK at least, waterproofs with you regardless of the forecast. I've got a jacket and bottoms with me as well, in case the weather does turn. So like I said, just be prepared for anything. And if any of you know this area, this has probably got the worst reputation of them all for the weather changing. This place is not to be underestimated at all. There's plenty of people have got into some really big trouble, including really experienced people as well. I'm obviously saying all this, I'm not trying to put you off, because it is 100% worth it. When you get an evening like this and views like that. Just look at them colours. Even the moon's out as well. I don't even know if you can see it. You see it? My screen's too small. There's just a sliver of cloud the whole way on the horizon. Right, I'm going to cook myself up some food before I go to bed, and I've gone budget again on the food front. So super noodles, I think these were £1, so you can still eat like a king. Now, one thing I should say as well, because like I said earlier, I haven't got any metal, I used that as a bit of a base. Now I'm going to be cooking in that, which means I'll have to use this as a base. Now this is not that tall to come off the grass, so what I've done is driven some pegs into the ground for that to sit on, to just raise it up a little bit, and it means again then that there's just no chance of that ground catching. Do you know what, actually the wind's dropped. Might sit out for this. Now I've been boring, I've just gone for bog standard chicken flavour. Here's a debate. Do you crunch them up first? I don't like having my strands too long, so I always crunch them up before I put them in. I know people literally just like cut them off into big chunks, but you end up having strands like that. See, you thought you were just going to get budget tent talk, but we've got super noodle chat. Oh, well, that's cooking. Just going to take a little bit more of this in. The colours are just unbelievable. The camera's never going to do it justice. Yeah, that wind's dropped right off now, and everything's so still. No airs and graces, no plate or nothing, straight out of the pan. Still a little bit watery, but I don't really want to leave it on there and potentially risk burning them into the bottom of the pan. So wow. So I think I'm gonna sit here, enjoy these, enjoy that amazing light show that the sun is delivering for me, and get myself off to bed. So I'll give you a shout once I'm in the tent and all cutched up. There's your Welsh word for the day, cutch. So that's me all about ready to get down for the night. Not sure if I'm going to leave this on. I probably won't. It's not that cold actually. So, and like I said before, this tent is pretty much a solid inner, so should keep me easily warm tonight. And maybe I'll get up early for a sunrise in the morning, but we'll see. So I've done something I've not done for a long time while I've been camping.
and us have sort of a lay-in, which is a rarity for me on these camps. But I'm gonna look out the window, or door I should say. Have a look at this. Not bad, not bad. Although what it does mean is that I've got a lot of condensation on the tent, because I've basically woken up in a cloud. So you can see that it's just so much moisture in the air. So not really any avoiding that in these sort of conditions really. So I'm not too bothered either. I'm only out for one night anyway, so I'm not going to bother splitting the tent down and parking it away separately. So, but that is something you can do with this tent. I should point out, you can detach the inner, pack that away separately if you're doing a multi-day, and then keep the fly in its own bag then, so you don't get everything wet. But like I said, I'm only out for one night, so I'll park it all the way together and I'll air out when I get home. But for now, I think I'm gonna have a quick cup of coffee. Thinking about making a move. What a glorious morning. Just sat nestling amongst the clouds in parts. Look at that over the valley. That's wonderful. If you are enjoying this then, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help. And make sure you hit the notifications bell as well. If you want to give the video a like as well, any comments are welcome as well. I love reading the comments, especially the one about the stove that I had in my last video, and it's really made a difference, that extra wind baffle in getting it more protected and increasing or quickening the boil times, rather than increasing them, I should say, decreasing boil times. So I do read every comment as well. I don't respond to all of them, but yeah, it is great when I see them coming in. So I suppose I should talk about the gear really, seeing as that's why most of you are watching. Now, the tent, no problems at all. I know it wasn't that windy, but you know, again, when you're looking at these budget camps, you don't plan on going out in big wind for, you know, your first time and things like that. Know the limits of your gear. I mean, this tent has had way worse punishment than it did last night. But you know, things like temperature, it got down to I think around 7 or 8 degrees, and I was toasty. I didn't have my jacket on. I just had this thin top on, and I was really warm in there. And that's, you know, down to the tent, the sleeping bag as well. Really good. Like I said, I've had that for years, and it served me so well. And the mat itself, you could feel the difference from where I was sleeping on it. Put your hand there to the ground itself. You know, despite its R value of 1, it's just enough in these types of conditions to get you off that cold floor and keep you warm. was really, really impressive. The stove, as you've already seen, has done really, really well. Cooked up coffee, food, and a coffee this morning as well. And it just goes to show you don't have to spend all the money in the world to come and enjoy this hobby. I've come up here for, I think it's about £300 all in, and that includes the food, the stove. I may even get my beer in that 300 quid as well. So if you want to start out doing this, like I said, you can do it probably on less of what I've done as well. Again, it's all down to you. Right, enough of me waffling. Time for my coffee. I think I'll have 2 sweeteners in this one. Why not? Treat myself. Well, that coffee didn't touch the sides, so I think it's time to get packed up and get off the hill. If you want to know why I haven't included this, it's just because I've got my GoPro batteries and bits and bobs in there, charger cable for the GoPro and stuff, so yeah, not something you need. Tell you what, that clag's rolling in quick. So like I said, because I'm only out for one night, I'm not really bothered about the fly being wet. I can air it all out when I get home. But yeah, if you're planning on doing any multi-days, make sure you take ideally 2 separate bags. One for your outer and one for your inner. Keep them separate in your bag. The last thing you want is getting your inner wet. I tell you what, I know I packed it, but a 25 litre pack to get that gear in. Okay, it's a bit of a squeeze, but it all fits. The only thing I carry in my hand on the way down is this bottle. As usual, we've left no trace. Again, if you're coming out for the first time, if you're planning on getting into this, make sure whatever you take in, you take out as well. All that's left to say is thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button and the notifications button as well. Leave any comments down below. Tell me if you've enjoyed it or not. And I'll see you on the next one.
I walked that far for that shot, and let's face it, most of you turned off by now.